So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. And welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, November 11th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, November 11th. It is Veterans Day today. We got a lot of sports to get to today. A lot of news surrounding the Yankees, a lot of news surrounding the Mets, a lot of news. And I said this yesterday. I've said it for the past week now. We're going to have a couple of these pods now where I'm going to be talking a lot of baseball. There's a lot of news going around in baseball, whether that's the free agency, whether that's the Yankees, whether it's the Mets, whether it's, the New York sports, whether it's all around MLB. There's a lot of MLB news. When we start to round the corner, get into later November and early December, that's when all the winter meetings start. That's when all the big deals start. That's when you'll see the big names go off the board during the winter meetings and stuff. That's in December and stuff. So that stuff's right around the corner. So it's obviously a lot of news is going to start to pipe up here. At this moment, it's a lot of rumors. It's a lot of rumors. It's a lot of speculation. But as you get deeper into November and then early into December, you'll really get a good idea who's going where, who's going to stay put, who might get re-signed, who's going to get released, who's going to be in free agency, where is this guy going, what is this? If you follow what I'm saying, it's going to start to get to where you get a better feeling of who's going to go where and what's going to happen. So that should be good. Before I start this pod, I just want to say thank you to all the veterans out there, obviously, who have served in this country, risked their lives every day. Obviously, it is Veterans Day, so I just want to thank everyone for that. Obviously, all the veterans out there, former and active military people, former and active, just want to say thank you, because it wasn't for you when we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. So risk your lives every day just to keep this country keep this country rolling. So that's obviously thank you for that. So anyway, with that being said, kind of want to just say that for everyone out there, thank you for your service. With all that being said, these are the topics today. We got DJ LeMahieu and the Yankees /MLB. A lot of news surrounding the Yankees and DJ LeMahieu. Looks like he is going to get released from the looks like he's going to get released from the Yankees. Not released, but into free agencies from the Yankees. So it does not look like he's going to be a Yankee anymore. Frustrating to say the very least as a Yankee fan, and I've said this so many times about this organization, and we need to get rid of our GM, Brian Cashman, and we'll get into that kind of right now. Then we got Marcus Stroman in the Mets. A lot of news surrounding him and Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen obviously had his introductory press conference yesterday. Marcus Stroman said he's going to stay with the New York Mets. He obviously opted out. There was a lot of speculation he opted out that he wasn't going to come back. He is going to stay with the Mets. I think part of it is because of Steve Cohen. I think part of it is because there's something building in with the New York Mets I think a lot of people think is special. Then we got college football games. There was a couple small games on yesterday, and then a couple small games as well on today. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So DJ LeMahieu, reportedly declines Yankees qualifying contract offer. So this news came out yesterday. Although us as Yankees fans, me as a Yankees fan, me as a sportsman, me as personally just a person who has been around sports pretty much my entire life. I've obviously been around it for a long time. Once the Yankees came out with this deal, I'm pretty sure it was $18.9 million a year. $18.9 million. 1 year, $18.9 million. Obviously, it was one of those deals that I knew wasn't going to work out. I remember saying to a ton of people, I think I might have even came onto this podcast and said, he ain't accepting this deal. He would be actually stupid to accept this deal. This is not a good deal. He wants $20 million. He wants more than just 1 year. And the Yankees do just what he doesn't want and give him $18 million 1 year. So to be honest, this isn't DJ LeMahieu. You can't be mad at DJ LeMahieu. There's one person in charge. One person. I've been saying this for years as a Yankees fan. I've been saying this. I said it before too, but I've really been saying this for a very long time now. the year after the Yankees made it to the ALCS in 2017, the year with Judge, where Judge became a star, that year, the year where the Astros were the first year of them cheating, they ended up winning it all that year. The year where the Yankees, no one expected them to do anything, they ended up coming one game away from the World Series. They ended up losing in ALCS, but you get what I'm talking about. That year, they got one game away from the World Series. They made it to the ALCS, and that year, Brian Cashman fired Joe Girardi. And I remember I actually made a prediction too, because there was like 4 or 5 coaches before Joe Girardi got fired that made the playoffs that year that also got fired. I know the Red Sox coach got fired. I think there was a couple other coaches that got fired that made the playoffs that year. And I was like, watch, Girardi's going to get fired if we don't win the World Series. And sure enough, he got fired. Ever since that moment, I have disliked Brian Cashman. I think he has failed in many departments of the game. I think he has failed in the pitching game. You could say Garrett Cole, okay, outside of Garrett Cole, what stellar pitcher has he brought in here that has really made that much of a difference? J.A. Happ, horrible. James Paxton, horrible. What pitcher has he brought in here outside of Garrett Cole? Because, as a matter of fact, I think that Garrett Cole signing was a great signing, although I don't really think that was a pretty obvious signing too. I think if you have Garrett Cole out there, you would have to be crazy stupid not to pick him up. So if it goes down to kind of picking up other players, not all these big names, he really fails at it. And ever since that moment, I have not liked any of the moves he's made. I have not liked that. I have not liked some of his decision-making. Him and Boone make the lineup. It's not all Boone. I have not liked some of his decision-making. I'm not a big fan of some of his lineup making. It is really painful to me. And I wish I could be in his position right now to do it differently. But I wish he would do something with this pitching. I wish he would do something with this pitching. Because the hitting doesn't win championships. Pitching does. And the Yankees has shown. Okay, he thinks Tanaka's this big stud. He's done nothing. He thinks that Paxton was this big stud. He's done nothing. We brought Happ here to be a quality 6-inning guy. Has he done anything significant with us? No. Except maybe have a good 5-inning game against the laughingstock of the league and maybe the Orioles or the Tigers or the Red Sox. He has done nothing good here, Brian Cashman. So I want to clear that first. I want to say that first. This is not on DJ LeMahieu, people. You cannot blame DJ LeMahieu for this. As a matter of fact, I don't blame DJ LeMahieu. I think this was a right move by him not to accept the offer. I think it was. And this is coming from a Yankees fan, too. This was a horrible offer for the New York Yankees. This guy was asking for around $20 million and more than 1 year. He likes it here, too, in New York. He likes it with the New York Yankees. He does. He likes to be a New York Yankee. And the Yankees just completely ruined it for him. And the one man in particular, and that was Brian Cashman, who once again ruins it for this team. So he has not only gave away some of our best prospects. That's another thing, too. This is kind of a DJ LeMahieu and whole Yankees thing. Okay? Not only has Brian Cashman done dumb things like this, where he just lets one of the best hitters in all the MLB. I mean, a guy who has won two Silver Slugger awards in 2 different leagues. It's just insane. And a batting title in 2 different leagues. It's just insane. He won the Silver Slugger award this year. He won a batting title this year. It is really insane. And he's an MVP contender. I think those come out November 13th. It is really insane to me how bad this GM can be. You have one of the best hitters, if not the best, the most purest hitters in the game. You know, when you talk about best hitters, a lot of people think about your big name players, your home run hitters. DJ LeMahieu isn't completely like that. He is one of the most purest hitters on the game. And now as a Yankee, I want to ask this, the viewers at home too, because I'm sure a lot of you do agree with me. Maybe some of you disagree, but I know there's a lot of people that watch these pods that will agree that Cashman's bad. I want you to comment down below. What hitter on the New York Yankees right now is like a DJ LeMahieu, a guy that's a setup guy? A setup guy means he'll get on base to bring up your power hitter. LeMahieu gets a single, there you go, power hitter, and Aaron Judge comes up. LeMahieu gets a single, okay, there you go, Judge gets up, okay, here we go, Stan's up, he's a power hitter, okay, Hicks, right, something like that. Where is your setup man now? Hicks isn't your setup man. Judge isn't your setup man. As much as I like Judge, he's a power hitter. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be a LeMahieu that gets 2 hits a game. He's a 1-for-4 guy that gets home runs a lot, right? And I like Judge a ton. But this is a guy that LeMahieu can hit everything. LeMahieu can do everything. So where is your setup man now in the lineup? And I'm not talking about like a guy like Higashioka, because he's bottom of the order. He could set up, but it's bottom of the order. Where is your setup guy now? Let me ask this. And some of you might say Brett Gardner, but Brett Gardner might not be coming back. I know there might be some people, the Yankees, there's rumors that they are going to bring him back for another year. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe Clint Frazier, but even him, he's more of a power hitter too. Where is your setup man in your lineup right now for the New York Yankees to set up guys like Stanton, guys like Hicks, guys like Judge? Where is your setup man now? And that's what Cashman just removed from this lineup. He has removed one of the best hitters in all the MLB. And he's going to let him walk into free agency. He didn't even give him a competitive offer. LeMahieu didn't have to think a second about declining this offer. He could have immediately, once he got this offer, he was immediately like, no way. No way. I would rather go to a team that's awful and get paid a ton more money and try to be a part of the rebuild. No way is he going. No way. Like I said, LeMahieu would be a very not smart baseball player. Wouldn't be very smart to accept this contract offer, because it is not a good amount of money. Do I want him to accept it? Yes, but it was not a good amount of money. And once this deal came out, I knew it was not going to happen. And now he's going to walk into free agency without a competitive offer. And once again, Brian Cashman blowing it for the New York Yankees. And I still want you to comment down below. And I'll maybe reply back to you, depending on what you say. Because maybe I'm forgetting somebody. You got Higashioka, sure, Gleyber Torres, yeah. But these guys are bottom of the order. I'm talking about a leadoff hitter. You don't have a guy like LeMahieu anymore. You know how pivotal that is for a team to have a guy like a LeMahieu? They're rare. They're not common. And I'm not nothing against Gleyber Torres or Higashioka or Clint Frazier, guys that, can hit home runs and singles and doubles, but they do not do it nearly as many times as LeMahieu does. The Yankees had something special in this guy. You don't see this type of a baseball player every day. I mean, this was a guy, you can't shift on him, because if you shift, he's a guy that would hit it the other way. You don't get many of these baseball players like this. I mean, this is a guy that every single game would get 2 hits. Literally every single game he would get 2 hits. It was a rare occasion for him to go 0-4. As for a lot of players in the Yankees lineup, it's almost every other day their player in the lineup goes 0-4. And this was a guy, 1-for-4 was meh for him. Every day he was putting up 2-3 hits. And Cashman doesn't even make a competitive offer. And once again, he's ruining it for this team. This is a team that couldn't get there now. And now you're talking about all these other trades. And that's kind of where I wanted to, you're just letting one of the best hitters in all the league walk right now. So, into free agency. And there's a lot of contenders in there. There's a lot of contenders for LeMahieu. There's a lot of guys for LeMahieu. But what I personally think the Yankees should do. Now, the Yankees, I think, could still technically bring him back. But if they really, really, really wanted him back, I would imagine they would give him a bigger offer. Maybe it was something with the whole logistics of his contract. Maybe they purposely didn't give him a great deal, and then they'll give him a better deal in free agency. I personally don't think he's coming to the Yankees. I could honestly, when I did my divisions in the NFL, how I threw some teams out. I can almost say the Yankees are kind of a team, throw them out. I don't think they're gonna have LeMahieu anymore. So now now let's look. Gardner's gone. LeMahieu's gone. Not that Gardner had a great year, but Gardner used to be your setup man. He used to be your leadoff hitter. So now LeMahieu's gone. So you got to find a new setup man for Judge. I know there's a lot of rumors about bringing in Francisco Lindor. I've heard a lot of rumors about JT Realmuto, who is a good player, but you don't see a catcher batting first every day. It's very rare to see that. If anything, he'll be batting 6th, 7th. He's a very good guy. I mean, he's a very good hitter. He's a pure hitter, one of the better hitting catchers in all the league, but he's not going to be batting first. That's just not a catcher's thing to do. You don't usually bat a catcher first. Usually they're 6, 7, 8 in the order, maybe even last. I mean, or 4, or there'll be like a power hitter. I mean, you saw Sanchez be kind of in the 4 spot when he was really good. I mean, he's been struggling until they dropped him. But, I don't know if you're going to put Realmuto there. There's a lot of, Francisco Lindor's name has popped up. There's been a couple names that's popped up. Francisco Lindor's been one of the biggest. Didi has popped up. Now, if the Yankees, I'm not going to be happy. Either way, I'm not happy with this. But if somehow with the Yankees, with LeMahieu joining another team, and I'll get to the teams that have been in the rumors. Like I said, right now, beginning of November, you're kind of more rumors right now. I mean, it's not a rumor that he's a free agent. That's the truth. But there's a lot of rumors on where he's going to go. A lot of rumors on who's going to pick up who. You'll start to find out who's getting who in about later on this month in early December. And in middle of December is usually when all the moves are made. So you'll find out in about a month of who's going where. But back to the LeMahieu point. There's a couple players. There's been Francisco Lindor, JT Realmuto. A guy like Didi, he could be a leadoff hitter without a doubt. I mean, he could be your setup guy, but that's a whole nother thing. You got to get him first. I mean, you can't have him. You can't pick. I mean, you can't just all of a sudden be like, "Hey, Didi, come here," because he only signed a 1-year deal with the Phillies, so he's also a free agent, unless if he resigns with them, which I don't foresee that happening. I think he's gonna want to come back. I know he really liked the Yankees, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back. There's been rumors around him coming back. He said he would love to. He said that. But it's like I said, you also got to realize who you're working with. You're working with, in my opinion, one of the worst GMs I've seen ever. I mean, I'm a Jets fan, so I've seen even worse. But I mean, this guy's awful. I mean, this guy's horrendous. I mean, Brian Cashman is horrendous. I mean, this is a guy that can't do anything correct. He's failed in the pitching department. Now he's failing with LeMahieu. He's failed with many of our prospects. I mean, you're talking about Justice Sheffield, the best prospect in all the MLB, and trades him away for James Paxton. How's that deal working out for us? How's that deal? That's going real good. Paxton's everything we wanted him to be. Real good. 6 ERA, only pitching about 3 innings every day. Every day there's a new injury with him. How's that deal working out with us? That was another stellar move. How about Hap too? That was another stellar move. That was another one. Hap's been unbelievable. Whew. I mean, Hap, you can make the argument he's the best pitcher of all time right there. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing too. So, once again, Brian Cashman and this Yankees team fails. And it's their front office that keeps on blowing it. Every year, World Series. It's going to be a whole lot harder to even get to the playoffs now without LeMahieu. It was hard enough to get past the ALDS and the ALCS with LeMahieu. It's going to be 10 times harder now. Because you're losing someone special. And I want the Yankees to realize this. They've got to sit down in a room. And they've got to realize who they just let go. They're giving up, and I've said it so many times today on the podcast, they are giving up one of the best hitters we have seen in a very long time. I mean, you don't see this stuff every year. This is a rare occasion where you see a guy like LeMahieu hit the ball the way he hits it. I mean, every single at bat, if he's not getting a single, he's grounding out. He's making contact almost every single at bat, whether he's getting out or putting the ball in play. Whatever he's doing, he's hitting the ball. You don't see that often out of players. I mean, it was a very rare occasion too to see a strikeout of LeMahieu. So, unless if you get Didi and Lindor or someone like that, you're not going to have a good setup man for the New York Yankees this year. It's going to rely on your power hitting. So, relying on your power hitters, Mets have a setup man, Jeff McNeil. He's your setup man. He'll get you a single. He'll get you a double. Not as good as LeMahieu, but he'll be your setup man. Yankees don't have that guy. He's fast too. Yankees don't have that guy anymore. Because Brian Cashman made another boneheaded decision. And once again, comes back to backfire on him. How many more times does Hal Steinbrenner have to see this to finally say, get rid of this guy? How many more times do we have to go below expectations every single year? Yankees are a World Series team this year. Losing the ALDS. Yankees are a World Series team this year. Losing the ALDS. How many more years do Yankees fans have to go through this before you fire this horrible general manager? And once again, blows it. And some areas for LeMahieu, to possibly go could be. There's been rumors about the Red Sox. The Mets have all of a sudden, we'll talk about that in our second topic. The Mets have all of a sudden opened up as a favorite for a lot of these big name players in the offseason. They've opened up as one of the favorites for Lindor. There's been rumors around Didi. There's now rumors around LeMahieu. We've heard rumors all over. We've heard Trevor Bauer, one of the best pitchers on the market, if not the best pitcher on the market. The Mets are now all of a sudden a place where teams could possibly, big name players could possibly be on their way to. And the Mets remind me a lot of the Brooklyn Nets, and I'll give you this. I'll give you that until a later time, but I'm going to kind of give a quick preview on it. The Mets have always been a known team for kind of signing these one-year guys. They're kind of a team every year. They have new players, right? Now they get Steve Cohen, and now all of a sudden look at the Nets, right? The Nets all of a sudden get Kyrie and stuff, and now look at them. They're all of a sudden a contender. Same thing with the Mets. They get Steve Cohen, and now look at them. All of a sudden, look, they're a lot of people think they're going to win a World Series within the next 3 years. I got to see how they do. I got to see what they do in this offseason. Right now, they don't have a World Series team. I got to see what they do. You can't say they're a World Series team when Cohen hasn't made any moves. So, LeMahieu, the New York Mets could definitely be a possibility. And if LeMahieu goes to the New York Mets, this should be a true eye-opener for not only Yankees fans, but for the Yankees organization to get rid of this general manager. Because you're going to let him go to a crosstown rival. Literally, you offered him a couple bus tokens and a jelly donut to stay here. I mean, you offered him nothing for a guy who is arguably the best player in all the MLB. So, and now could possibly go to your crosstown rival. So, I don't know what to say. But let's read this quick article. DJ LeMahieu reportedly declines Yankees qualifying contract offer. DJ LeMahieu will not accept the New York Yankees' $18.9 million qualifying offer by the Wednesday deadline per Mark Feinstein of MLB.com. He will instead enter free agency. As Feinstein noted, LeMahieu's decision isn't surprising considering his performance over the past 2 seasons for the Yankees. Exactly. It's not like this is a guy that was average. I mean, this is a guy that's going to want his money. I mean, this is a guy that has shown the entire MLB, not just the Yankees, but the entire MLB, how good he is. And he deserves his money. I mean, he does. He deserves it. Now, when he came, let's just say when he came to the Yankees, he was good with the Rockies. But let's just say when he came to the Yankees, let's just say he wanted all that money. I would have personally disagreed with it. But now how good he's played, and he showed that it was not a one-year wonder. He's done it the first year. He's done it this year. The Yankees should have gave him his money. That's fine. He had 26 home runs, 102 RBIs, in a 327 batting average in 2019 before trading the majors, before leading the majors with a 364 batting average in American League with a 1.011 OPS. In 2020. LeMahieu signed a 2-year, $24 million contract with the Yankees before the 2019 season after playing his rookie season 2011 with the Chicago Cubs and the following 7 years with the Colorado Rockies. The Yankees would be wise to bring back LeMahieu, who has been their MVP ever since he arrived in the Bronx. However, they'll face plenty of competition for the 32-year-old. Per Dan Moore in the New York Post, the Toronto Blue Jays, Boston Red Sox, and Tampa Bay Rays are interested in his services. The New York Mets, who were just purchased by billionaire hedge fund manager Steve Cohen, could conceivably be in the mix as well. So, like I just said, I said the Mets were in there. I saw the Red Sox were in there, and now it looks like the Blue Jays and the Rays are also in there as well. So you're talking. I mean, let's just say this. I mean, you're talking the Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Rays. They're your teams in the division. So they're your other 3 teams, and then obviously the Orioles. But those are 3 teams in the division. And then the Mets. So let's just say he does go to, in fact, one of those teams. It's going to have an impact on the Yankees. It's not like he's going all the way out into the National League where the Yankees may play him once a year. I mean, if he goes to the Mets, it's going to have an effect on the Yankees. And I know it's in the National League too, but, your crosstown rivals, Subway Series, it also is a little bit of an inside competition, who's better. It's the Battle of New York. It's because New York's split. You got Yankees fans and Mets fans. It's kind of how it is in every sport. And if he goes to the Red Sox, you'll play him multiple times. And then he's going to a rival. And he's going to the Rays too. Imagine if he goes to the Rays. I mean, it's crazy. I can't picture him on the Rays though. All that the Yankees have been through with that team, it would be so weird. I don't know if I would even if he goes to the Mets, I would be annoyed with. But if he goes to some, let's just say, I don't know why, but I just thought of a random team. Let's just say he goes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. That doesn't really affect the Yankees. I mean, it negatively impacts them, but if he goes to the Rays like that, I would be pretty angry. Same thing with the Mets, even with the Red Sox. If he goes to any of the teams they just named, I would be mad. But if he goes to a team that the let's just say it's not going to happen. Let's just say he goes back to Colorado Rockies, the Yankees, that doesn't really affect them. I mean, it's going to affect them with him leaving, but during the regular season, you're not really going to really realize that he even got But if he goes to the Rays, I would be kind of jealous. Not going to lie, because the Rays, we hate them and they hate us, And for him to go there, that would only add more firepower to them. It would not help us at all. Cohen told reporters Tuesday that the Mets will be acting like a major market team, so he could be ready to spend big and make his team a contender once again. The Yankees always have deep pockets themselves, have always have deep pockets themselves, so they should be in the mix for LeMahieu. The question is whether a rival team will go over the top in its quest for a World Series, and that's what I was saying kind of before too. The Yankees are going to still offer him contracts. I mean, him not on the Yankees, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And like I said, maybe this might be a little bit of my optimistic feel of it, but maybe, just maybe, the Yankees purposely didn't give him a great contract so that maybe they could, maybe they could shoot even bigger, whether that was a logistic concern, whether that was something with other players or whatever. Maybe they purposely didn't, so then they could shoot huge in free agency. All I'm hoping is here, if the Yankees don't even come after him in free agency, then I don't know what to say. If the Yankees at least come after him and another team gets him, okay. I'd still be frustrated. But if the Yankees don't even come after him in free agency, or they give him some stupid deal like 2 years, $20 million, then I'm going to be annoyed. He's going to want big money. And they make a great point at the end of this article too. They're rival teams. A team like the Rays, they're trying to get one or two more pieces to really jolt them to that ultimate title, that ultimate goal of getting a World Series, and they're close to it. A team like the Red Sox, to have a veteran like LeMahieu, a guy that can give you 2 hits every game pretty much, to build around him, that would be great. They're going through a rebuild. If they could possibly build around him, that would be good. Same thing with the Mets. This is a team that's going to bring a lot of big-name guys in. He could be the start of something big there. All these teams are trying to, all these teams here, you can make the argument, are all trying to, make a push. Now, if he goes to the Red Sox, do I think that's going to put him over the top? No, because the Red Sox have so many holes. But, I mean, this is the New York Yankees for you. Once again, blowing it. And now he's going to go into free agency. And like I said, the Rays, even the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays made the playoffs last year. They have a lot of young guys. If they bring a veteran on that team, could that be the start of something, right? A lot of things to kind of think of here. The Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Rays are all in the AL East, and the Mets are crosstown rivals. So let's just say he goes to one of those 4 teams. That will really affect the Yankees, even if that's the Mets. Because, it's the battle in New York, even when they're not playing against each other. It's the New York, right? Every year, it's kind of who's better. Secretly, the players know. I mean, it's not really public, but as a New York sports fan, you understand, too. If let's just say the Yankees win the World Series that one year, and the Mets don't, it's going to be all talking about the Yankees. And if it comes down to, Yankees, Mets, big games and whatever, the whole entire sports world's going to be talking about it. And it's really going to be big for New York sports. So, for a guy to possibly be going to the Mets, that would be painful as well. If he goes to one, like I said, if any of these teams would be painful, Blue Jays would be painful, but it's not like the Yankees are crazy rivals with the Blue Jays. I would hate to see him go with the Rays. I hate the Rays. I can't stand them. I despise the Rays. I don't like with the whole situation the Yankees got into. I don't like their manager. I don't like the Rays. I don't. They beat us. They're cocky. I don't like them. And it'd be so odd for DJ to be on the other end of, the whole Rays-Yankee stuff to now go to the Rays. I mean, that's sports for you, though. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, that's sports. 1 minute you could be fighting a guy, the next minute you could be on his team. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It really is. So, it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks here to see what happens with LeMahieu. And I'm sure teams are going to offer big. I mean, he's going to want his money. Teams are going to want their money. I mean, he's going to want his money. And, for a player like him, where he deserves it, a lot of teams are going to make big moves there. So, and if the Yankees, in fact, don't get him back, then they better get either Didi or Lindor or someone to fill in his shoes. So, you gotta definitely watch out there. And Lindor had a pretty good year last year. Yeah. So, this also report came in, too. Kind of if we want to go to the Lindor side of things. Francisco Lindor is probably he's probably going to be traded this winter. Sources confirm. These are some of the teams that are going to be in the running. The Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Cardinals are probably the main teams to be in the running for Lindor. Like I said, the Mets are going to be in the running for a lot of big free agents. They're already in the running for Bauer. Seems like they're already in the running for LeMahieu, in the running for Lindor. They're probably in the running for a lot of these big name guys. So the Yankees might have competition with the Mets this offseason. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's the truth. It's crazy what Steve Cohen, what one guy can do to an organization. And the Mets, the Yankees and the Mets might be fighting this season for some of these top free agents, whether that's getting LeMahieu back, whether that's getting Lindor, whether that's, there's been rumors around Bauer, but Cole and Bauer don't get along well. And I think they're going to probably lean, I think the Mets might be on the Bauer watch. I don't know if the Yankees so much will. So, they got to watch out. So, it's going to be, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this season. Even JT Realmuto might be one of the guys. So obviously that's going to be a interesting thing, and a lot of news coming up involving baseball. Coming up next, we do have Marcus Stroman. We got word here. Marcus Stroman will be staying as a New York Met. This surprises me. Big time, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. Coming up next, Marcus Stroman will stay with the New York Mets. Coming up next. Alrighty. Okay, so obviously Marcus Stroman will be back as a New York Met, and this one comes as a surprise, I think, to many Mets fans, many baseball fans. It came to a surprise to me, and I'm obviously not a Mets fan, so I think it came to a surprise to many baseball fans, to many Mets fans. And I think overall, just like the LeMahieu situation, I think it surprises many just in general across the sport that he is, in fact, Marcus Stroman, pitcher for the New York Mets, is, in fact, coming back to the New York Mets. And the reason I say this, and like I said, I think part of the reason he's coming back to the New York Mets is a part of the reason I think players are going to possibly join the Mets and players are going to possibly want to be with the New York Mets is because of one guy, and his name is Steve Cohen. And we'll get into him in just a little bit. But kind of to give you a little bit of a rundown on Marcus Stroman, he's been, I wouldn't say a disappointment for the New York Mets, but I would say I don't know if I want to say a disappointment because it's not like he's played bad. He just has been, it's just not, like, I don't know how I want to say it. Really, here's kind of my thing. Let's say there wasn't any virus. This could have been different because he did opt out because of the virus. But a lot of people, that's kind of still up in the air on why he did. But let's kind of get into this first off. So Marcus Stroman, to kind of put into words, he got traded at the deadline 2 years ago from the Blue Jays, or actually last season, not this past year, last year. So he got traded to the Blue Jays the year before this year. So last season, he got traded to the. He got traded from the Toronto Blue Jays to the Mets. Actually, I was very angry when he did. I thought the Mets made a good move, but I wanted the Yankees to get him. The Yankees were one of the teams. Another thing I thought the Yankees blew on. And same thing when he... so anyway, he went to the Mets, and it was kind of, he had a pretty good year. I, personally, as a baseball fan, I pitch personally, from me just watching the sport as a fan, I personally think he's a very good pitcher. I think he has a lot of good velocity on his fastball. He has a good off-speed. He has overall good movement on his pitches, and I really like that to see out of a pitcher. I think a lot of people do. I personally think he's a good pitcher. I personally think he's still got a lot in him. I know there's a lot of people that say he's lost it. Those a couple years where he was really doing well and the Blue Jays were a hoax. That's not true. I don't really buy into all that. Some of you can, because ever since he's came to the Mets, I wouldn't say a disappointment because he's only played about 6-7 games, then he opted out. Because obviously he played the second half of the season. He's only started about 6 times for the New York Mets. So you can't really call him a disappointment for a guy who's only played 6 games with the team. So he played the rest of the year with the Mets, finished it out, did pretty well, had like a 3 ERA. It was pretty good. Nothing crazy, nothing bad, but nothing, unbelievable. And then obviously spring training came around, was doing good, and all of a sudden he opted out. And this struck many Mets fans as he probably pitched his final game as the New York Mets last season. So a lot of people thought he spent his final day as a New York Met. Probably, he opted out. He said because of the health concerns and stuff like that. Not that I don't want to make assumptions that it wasn't because of that. But even many Mets fans in sports and overall just MLB fans. I'm not a Mets fan. I'm a Yankees fan. But people like me, I thought it was mainly because he didn't want to be a New York Met. This was a guy that didn't want to waste his time playing for this team. Kind of wait, train on his own. Not risk an injury, and stuff like that. Just go out there and just play. Because he was injured at the beginning of the year. And then the Mets started off pretty bad. They were struggling, and then he opted out. At the time he opted out, it was kind of just one of those things where it was like, this is so obvious. Like, they're playing bad. Now he's going to opt out, probably train on his own, get healthy, not risk an injury, not go out there and risk his body for a team that has no shot. So, definitely was interesting. But he is coming back, and I think, like I said, one man in particular, and Steve Cohen, I think, is going to draw some big names and is going to bring players like Marcus Stroman back. Marcus Stroman said he's excited to play next season for the New York Mets, and I think a lot of people thought that was just, so that he doesn't start any commotion. It's the middle of the year. He's not going to say, I want to leave the Mets and start all these problems in the middle of the year. But he does, in fact, accept the qualifying offer, and he has said over the offseason, he has made some hints that he wants to pitch for other teams. He, even the Yankees, he made a hint when the Yankees, Twitter stuff, but even when the Yankees needed a pitcher, he was saying, I hear the Yankees need a pitcher, kind of just, kind of just messing around a little bit, starting not problems, but if you follow what I'm saying, some of these players try to, be funny with it and stuff. So he was kind of doing that, and there was definitely some speculation there that he was going to join another team. I know the Yankees were a possibility. I know there was a couple teams there that were a possibility, but it does, in fact, return to the New York Mets. And I think for Mets fans, you should be excited about this. I think this is a guy that's at full strength now. He got healthy. I honestly have a little bit of opinion that he might have been playing a little injured the year he came to the New York Mets, because that offseason when he got his injury, then he went to play spring training, he might have re-injured it. Then he was out. Then he decided to opt out. I don't know if the opt out, like I said, I don't want to make all these assumptions that it wasn't because of the concerns of the virus. But I also do personally think it might have been, he might have wanted to leave the Mets, but now that Steve Cohen's there, he might be like, you know what, actually, I want to stay. This is a guy that's going to build a good team around me. So it's going to be interesting. But Marcus Stroman accepts a Mets $18.9 million qualifying offer, avoids 2020 free agency. So as for the Yankees, they obviously offered him $18.9 million. As for the Mets, Marcus Stroman does in fact accept the qualifying offer of that, and the Yankees and LeMahieu doesn't. This is a good move for, I think, the Mets, and here's why. I barely touched on this 10 minutes ago when I was talking about them, but or whatever, 5 minutes ago whenever I started this topic. I barely even touched on it, but I said how I like his fastball. He has good velocity. For a guy his height, he's not the tallest guy in the world. He's not the biggest guy in the world. I think he's only like 5-something, maybe 195. So he's definitely not the biggest guy in the world. You see a lot of these pitchers that throw throw gas. They're tall. They're 6'6", 6'7", or 6'3" or something. They're tall, and they're they're not overweight, but they're definitely heavier. He is more smaller and lean. He's more, you get what I'm saying. He's more smaller and he doesn't weigh as much as some of these tall pitchers and things like that, which isn't a bad thing, but the fact that he still gets velocity on that ball goes to show you how much strength he has. He has a ton of strength, and he uses his lower half incredibly well. You like to see out of a pitcher. You like to see out of a starter. I've seen so many times where he can switch up pitches. He'll throw a fastball 1 minute, next minute, curveball. A lot of good move on his fast. I like his move on his two-seam fastball and his fastballs in general. If you look at how he does it, I like the movement on his pitches are very good. You could say that about a lot of pitchers, but even him in particular. He has very good movement on his pitches. I think the velocity comes off. He's pitching 95, 96, 97. For a guy like him where he's not the tallest guy in the world, the fact that he could generate that much velocity just goes to show you how strong he is, how strong his lower half is, and that's what you want in a pitcher. That's exactly what you want in a pitcher like Marcus Stroman. And not only does this, that not only just him in general, but this also impacts the Mets in a strong way, is because outside of DeGrom, you didn't have that star. You didn't have that. You didn't have that other pitcher. Outside of DeGrom, there wasn't really that guy that you could rely on that much outside of DeGrom, right? So, now with him, with Stroman, and, with guys, around him, now you got DeGrom, you got Stroman, guys like that. Now, all of a sudden, it's definitely a pitching staff that can definitely be in good contention to make a push. And, like I said, I think a big reason in this all is because of a guy named Steve Cohen. And that's why I think one of the big reasons is. So obviously I think it's good for him and good for him to stay. Now let's kind of get into the Mets and the whole Steve Cohen thing, and then we'll read this article in just a second. But the Mets and Steve Cohen did in fact have an introductory press conference yesterday. I was watching a little bit. Kind of wanted a couple takeaways from it, and I think this is part of the reason why Marcus Stroman's coming back to the New York Mets. I think, he definitely probably thought about not coming back. Now that Cohen's there, I think he is. I've said this already multiple times. I think, with, Cohen being there now, I think there's going to be a lot of players not on the team now. Not even just players on the team now, but even players just all around the league that are going to say, you know what? Cohen's legit. This team might be legit. I want to play for this team. And I think that's big for the Mets. And Steve Cohen yesterday said a lot of the normal stuff. He said he wants to win a championship. A lot of people always say that. I like to watch. I kind of want to say this first. I like to watch the press conferences and everything. I watch them all the time, whether that's a new head coach for whatever, whether that's, in this case, a new owner in Steve Cohen, whether that's a GM, whatever it is. Whoever it is, whatever it is. If you have an introductory press conference, you're always going to say, I want to win a championship. And a lot of people were saying that yesterday with Steve Cohen saying he's ready to work. Oh, he's going to want to win a championship. Well, he's not going to come on the press conference and say, oh, my goal is to win some games, not win a championship. You're going to come on the press conference. You're going to come on there and say, oh, I want to win a championship. You're not going to go on there and say, oh, I don't want to win a championship. If you go on there and say, oh, my goal here is just to win a couple games and, leave. No, that's not it. Your goal as a coach, as a GM, as an owner, as a whatever you are in the sport, whatever you are in any sport, whether you're talking about hockey, basketball, baseball, or football, whatever you're talking about, your goal is going to be to win a championship. So first off, to take away from an interview, that was something he said that a lot of people really liked. And personally, to me, it was something that I was expecting. He's not going to come on there and say, oh, my goal is to make the playoffs and do nothing after that. He's going to come on there and go on there and say, I want to win a championship. Now, he did say, and this is something that I think for Mets fans you're definitely hopeful for, because Gay said that he wants to win a championship with the New York Jets, and, I don't have to really get into it on how that has turned out. I don't really want to get into it. 0-9, worst team in the NFL. But one thing he did say that I do think Mets fans should have a little bit of hope on is that he did say he wants to win a championship. Not just wants to win a championship, but he wants to win a championship within the next 3 to 5 years. And I think that's reasonable for the New York Mets and for this team. This is not a team that's going to be able to be built in 1 year. This is not a team that's going to be a contender. It's not a team that next year is going to be insane. This is a team that's going to take some time. You're going to have to get some prospects. You're going to get, Alonso's young. You got a lot of young players on this team. 2-3 years from now, they'll start to be more veteranized, more, know the game more. And, you'll start to get, Alonso will start to be in the league for 3 to 4 years by then, and he'll know a lot more about, the sport and thing. And that was one thing I wanted to take away that was good. It was not just the fact that he said, I want to win a championship, the 3 to 5 year margin, and I like that. He's telling the truth. He knows it's not going to be done this year. He knows that. I think a lot of people know that as Mets fans. They're not going to win a championship this season. They may, mark my word, they might not. I say no. But, if we're sitting here this time next year talking about the Mets winning the championship, then I'll be wrong. But I don't personally think that the Mets are going to win the World Series. 2-3 years from now, sure. If they get some big name guys, then next year in free agency, this is a guy in Steve Cohen that's going to want to spend money. This is not a guy that's going to be conservative with his money. It's a guy that's going to go out there and full on spend money. And that's something you want in an owner in whatever sport you're in. You want to spend money. You want to know why? The more money you spend, that's the more players you're getting, and the more money you spend on the player, that's probably the better that player is. Whether that's, a guy like LeMay who's going to want a lot of money. And he's arguably the best hitter in all the league. So, he's going to spend money. He's going to spend money on big-name players and big-name guys. And that's something I think is very good for the New York Mets to kind of get the Steve Cohen thing. And I think back to the Marcus Stroman thing, that's one of the big reasons why I do think Marcus Stroman's coming back. So let's just read this quick article here. Marcus Stroman accepts Mets $18.9 million qualifying offer, avoids 2020 free agency. After missing the entire 2020 season, Marcus Stroman will return to the New York Mets on a one-year deal. Stroman confirmed a report from Metsmerized that he has accepted the qualifying offer worth of $18.9 million. Marcus Stroman, on this was his Twitter, first reported by Metsmerized. Beyond excited to be back in Queens in 2021. This is Metsmerized posted this. According to sources, Marcus Stroman has accepted the qualifying offer from the Mets. The qualifying offer is valued at $18.9 million. Stroman suffered a torn calf muscle last year in spring training and was seemingly set to make his season debut in August when he decided to opt out because of concerns about the COVID-19 pandemic. This was a decision I had to kind of take myself out of it and look out for the best interests of my family, he said at the time. The extra weeks on the injured list, also known as the IL, also allowed the 29-year-old to accrue enough service time to hit free agency this offseason. It meant he could leave the Mets after just 11 starts following the 2019 midseason. So 11 starts. I said about 6 or 7. So it was 11 starts. Following the 2019 midseason trade that sent pitching prospect Simon Woods, Richardson, and Anthony Kay to the Toronto Blue Jays, considering he had just a 3.77 ERA and a 1.48 WHIP for a team that missed the playoffs. It would have been a tough loss for the organization. Stroman has instead decided to return while trying to prove he can be a frontline starter. The right-hander was selected to the All-Star game in 2019 thanks to a 2.96 ERA and 21 starts with the Toronto Blue Jays. He finished 8th in the Cy Young vote in 2017 when he went 13-9 with a 3.09 ERA and 164 strikeouts. Stroman's problem has been inconsistency, with his 2018 campaign especially highlighting the issue. He finished with a 5.54 ERA in 19 starts, throwing just 77 strikeouts in 100.1 innings. And that's what I said, right? He wants, I think, Mets fans, show the MLB that those 2 seasons where he was really solid was not a hoax, right? Because before that, he was meh. Now he's starting to be good. He wants to show people. So I said earlier, a modest 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings over his career means his results are more dependent on balls in play compared to other top pitchers, which is true, right? 96, 97, 97, 95, 96 miles an hour fastball. Not crazy hard, but pretty hard for him, I think. Pretty hard, pretty hard still. For him, I think it's pretty hard, right? I mean, that's really what he maxes out on. So it's pretty hard, but obviously it's going to be interesting to see. And he's a guy that players put the ball in play, and that's why I think he came back too, because I think he believes that Cohen's going to surround him with good defenders. There is still plenty of upside as New York tries to add him to the rotation that featured elite performances from Jacob deGrom last season, but little else. Noah Syndergaard is expected to return from Tommy John surgery, and David Peterson proved useful as a rookie last season. But Stroman will need to be at his best to help the Mets contend in the competitive NL East. So that's the Marcus Stroman news. So, like I said, a lot of news coming up for the MLB. A lot of news. Whether that's the Yankees, whether that's the Mets, whether that's just overall MLB teams. A lot of news about to come up in the MLB, and we'll be covering it all here. So now we move on to the college games today. We got 3 on today. Yesterday we had 4. Yesterday we had 3. I thought we had 4 yesterday. Did we not have 4 yesterday? I thought we had 4. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we only had 3. Yeah, we must have only 3 yesterday. So we had 3 yesterday. We had Buffalo, Miami, Ohio. Buffalo won 42-10. Kent State, Bowling Green. Kent State won 62-24. And Ohio and Akron. Ohio won 24-10. Today we also have 3 games on as well. And then tomorrow we got some games on. And then Friday. And then obviously the weekend. So today we've got 3 games on. So these are today's games. At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on CBS Sports Network. We got Ball State, Ball State versus Eastern Michigan. I'd give Ball State the win. At 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPNU, you got Central Michigan and Northern Illinois. I give Central Michigan the win. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN, Western Michigan, Toledo. I'll give Toledo the win. Even though they're underdogs, I'll give them the win. They've had a pretty good program there for a couple of seasons. So that's my picks for there. Actually, I'll just give Western Michigan the win, I think. I'll give Western Michigan the win. Because Western Michigan, I watched them play that one game, and they played pretty good. Last Wednesday. So, yeah. So, should be good. A lot of good games tonight. Like I said, they're small games, but it's football. Like I always say, when on Wednesday night, if you got really nothing to do, you could always turn on one of the small games. It's a small game. It's not Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, or any of them. Not Clemson, not any of those big schools. It's the smaller schools, but it's still college football, right? No matter how small it is, you're watching football. That's, at the end of the day, I guess that really all that matters. And obviously tomorrow you got Thursday Night Football, and then Friday you got some good college games, some bigger name college games. And then Saturday, obviously, you got all the college games. Sunday, NFL, you already know. It's you don't have to tell you, really. You already probably know. Then you got the whole football weekend as well. So that's what I got for the podcast today. That's what I got for the podcast today. Tomorrow we'll be doing the keys, the Thursday Night Football, my usual keys of the game and all that fun stuff. The keys of the game, fantasy football, kind of give you an overview for the entire week. And we'll do college games as well. There's one college game on tomorrow. And then we'll talk about, obviously, tonight's game. And then Friday, it's crazy. It's already Wednesday. I mean, after tomorrow, it's Friday again. Like, it's crazy how fast these weeks go. And then Friday's obviously my entire Football Friday, where I'll give you all the game picks and that good stuff and all that. So, So with all that being said, that will do it for today's podcast. Once again, thank you to all the veterans out there for all your work. Thank you again. Hopefully you all enjoy your rest of your day. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.